to episode 97 of the Slipping Weed podcast. He's back. My guy, founder of ITRBoxing, Felix Gracia. Felix, thanks for coming on, bro.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's going to be an annual thing. We'll be back here again. The third one will be next year around the same time for sure.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. So I think there's the obvious things that we're going to get into, but I thought one thing that would be interesting to talk about is for anybody that saw you on the show last year, you were quite a bit bigger. And I think it would be interesting for you to kind of just talk about real quick, like your weight loss journey, because I think it's been really awesome to watch.
Yeah. I mean, really just got back in the gym, changed up my diet, and actually didn't even necessarily get back in the gym. I've worked out all my life, so I know what to do. Walking, jump rope, and just recently started using a rowing machine. But really, walking and doing jump rope, I do anywhere from 300 to 500 push-ups a day. Try to hit the same amount of squats, but hit about 100 to 150 of those, and then just watching what I'm eating, making sure my meals are, calculated. No more Burger King, no more Mexican food at 10 p.m. and then going right to sleep. Change all that up. Right now, I go to sleep around 9 p.m. or so, sometimes earlier, sometimes a little later, but I try not to eat past 5 p.m. And I, say my bedtime, because a lot of people will say, don't eat after this time, don't eat after that time. But really, it's all relative to how you live. I wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And so I have my breakfast around that time, 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. I'm eating breakfast. Some people are still asleep at that time. And, there's like a whole thing, don't eat before 8 a.m. type of thing. But again, it's how you live. So just kind of balance that out. And, that's really what I do. I balance my meals out. And, my snacks are usually fruit, almonds, little pieces of cheese or something. The past couple of weeks, I've really grown to love grapes again. Like those things are my favorites. But yeah, that's really is diet. Diet has helped a lot, man. Definitely.
Well, and what's wild too, like, because we're on a show together every week, so you don't necessarily see it on an individual week basis, but when you go back and watch old episodes, like it's very obvious the
Yeah.
transformation that you've made.
Yeah, so like even looking back at like last year, like I was saying, like right now my beard is kind of long and bushy, whatever. But last year I feel like I kept it long and bushy to hide like the extra double chin. But even then you could see how much bigger it was too. Like my face was just a lot bigger. So it's been a big difference. I was looking at the old episode. It's been a big change for sure.
Was there like a thing or a moment that made you just kind of switch it up? Because I know for me, like I always have that moment when I'm getting bigger, which is kind of right now, where it's just like, all right, it's time to switch up. Did you have one of those?
Yeah, and actually I had it even before like January of that year. I was like, yo, what the hell? Because like I always feel like December, once Christmas and the holiday season comes around, all them cookies and all that, they just kill me. You know what I mean? So it was, I went out there to New York in March and I had already dropped a couple pounds before that trip. But I think like during the summer is when, me and my son's mom, we just kind of came together and just had a change in everything. We cut out like all the sweets, all the bad habits, just switched up everything, the way we cook and prepare our meals and all that stuff. So I think it was like in July or it was like late July, early August was when we made the switch and, just changed our lifestyle. And I mean, once you have somebody doing it with you, it's a whole lot easier. And, we stuck with it and we stayed on top of it, stayed on top of each other too, and made sure we were doing right. And that was it.
Like, because then you have the accountability too, where it's like, if you start slipping up, it's like, yo, we said we were going to,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And dinner, like, before it's like, I don't want to eat that. That's, give me something, I want Burger King. I want Popeyes. You know what I mean? Like, no, let's have this salmon and cauliflower. That's better for us. And, now it's not even a thing. Like, we don't even crave the bad stuff. And occasionally, I mean, I just had pizza over the weekend. As you know, I mean, hell, I love pizza, but it's all in moderation too. And I think, again, I don't do like fasting throughout the day, but obviously, fasting throughout the night. That's why I try not to eat too late and whatnot.
Yeah, I've always found that too. Like my eating is always the healthiest when like I eat what I want, but there's moderation because I also can go extremes, right? Where I'm just like eating like a dickhead or I'm eating like a monk and I'm
Yeah.
not having anything that's like pleasurable. So I think that's always like that happy medium to not like deprive yourself of the foods you like, but also kind of being aware of what the limit is.
Yeah, exactly. And that definitely is it. Like this week, I did bad over the weekend. I just got back from Vegas. I was eating like trash. And then this weekend, it's my birthday weekend, so I'm gonna go to a restaurant and I'm probably gonna eat like trash too. And then next weekend I'll be in Phoenix. So like during the week, I know I have to be in my P's and Q's big time. Make sure everything is on point to make up for those days.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then you're not going to be perfect every single day. It's just can you do, the best you can do the most days possible, basically.
Right,
Because
right.
like even for me, like when I go away on these jobs, it disrupts whatever kind of routines I have going at home. Like, when I take the mile walk in the morning with the coffee, when I go to the
Yeah,
gym 3 times a week, when I go on the road, all that shit gets disrupted. But I can't be perfect. I just have to do what I can do every day that I can possibly do it, basically. I think that's like the thing with weight loss is it's almost like when you quit cigarettes, you can't think about quitting forever, right? It's just you have to just not smoke today. That's all you have to deal with. I think that's what weight loss is just a one day at a time thing.
definitely, definitely. And then one thing I think a lot of people get tied up on is obviously you want to see the number on the scale go down, but don't focus on that like on a daily because you can get obsessive over that and
Oh, fuck yeah. And the first month, it's like, unless you just are going real hard, like the first month that you change up your lifestyle, you're not really going to lose that much weight. At least for me,
right,
it takes like a month or so for that engine to kick in, for the fat burn to start kicking in. So that
right.
first month is just like, I look a little better. I feel a little better. And then you're going to, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah, yeah, big time. And I think I'm gonna really turn it up again this summer. So next year at this time when we do this next show, you're gonna probably see an even bigger
Yeah,
difference.
bro. Hopefully you see a couple skinny minis up on the screen. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, definitely.
It won't be thick boy hour anymore. It'll be
I
fit
know
boy hour.
we're gonna be thick at heart though, always thick at heart.
Bro, I don't think the thick boys ever go away, right?
No, never. And then remember, the last time we were in Vegas, you and we had pizza. I only had one slice of the regular pizza. This time I was like, you know what? I'm having the little thick one, the little squared off one. I guess,
Sicilian.
yeah, the Sicilian one. I had the
Yeah.
Sicilian, and then I had another one. And I was like, you know what? At that point, I hadn't eaten all day. I was like, I'm getting one of each. And as I'm eating it, the Sicilian, I'm like, this is way too much breading. Like it's too thick. Like this is way too much. And I just finished the thin slice and didn't even finish the Sicilian all the way because I was like, yeah, even as I'm eating, I'm recognizing there's way too many carbs. And even though I haven't eaten all day, like this is still like hella
That's
fat.
the other thing too, right? Is so today for anyone that's watching, it's probably already it's obviously already passed, but today's the last day of my 20s. This is the very last day. I'm
Oh,
29.9 repeating. Um but the point of bringing that up is as I've gotten like a little bit older, dude, like overeating used to just be fun and there was no
yeah.
consequence. It was just like a good time to eat too much. Bro, I ate 4 cookies the other night and I woke up like, oh, I had a hangover. Like it's just I can't even enjoy being like a fucking pig ass anymore.
I feel you. I feel you, man. It's rough. And then I think this last winter, I had like a little moment where I was like, oh boy. It's like I got down to a low weight and then I went to Disneyland and you can't pig out there. They have like the best sweets in the world. But I tried my best and I did pretty good. But it was after I got home, I was like craving. I was like, damn, I missed Disney. I missed that. And that's when I discovered you and I talked about it, discovered chocolate chip cookies with sea salts on it. Oh my God, forget about it. It was like
Forget
something
about
new.
it.
And I was like, forget about it.
See,
This
this
is
is where the thick boy comes out. We start romanticizing treats, bro.
for real. It was rough. And then not long like early February, me and my son went to this restaurant supply place because I didn't have a cast iron skillet and I wanted to make steak in that. And so I got this like three set. It was like, a small one and then the big ones and like a medium sized one. And my son's like, oh, I can make a pizookie in there. And I don't know if you know what a pizookie is.
I don't.
So it's basically in a small cast iron skillet, maybe about that big. You fill it with cookie dough, throw it in there, throw it in the oven, cook it, and then when it comes out, you get ice cream. You put it on there, and then some chocolate drizzle. So my son was like, oh, I'm gonna make some pazookies for us. And man, oh my god, forget about it.
Yeah, them
It
shit
was
slap.
yeah. So obviously, I still pig out from time to time. It's been a minute. This weekend, I'm sure I will at some point again, but it's all in moderation.
Absolutely, bro. I just thought that was a good thing to bring up because I think a lot of the people that watch my show, that watch all of our shows and our programming at ITR, it's working people, right? It's like
Yeah,
it's not that simple, you know, not that it's simple for anybody to lose weight, but it's simpler for athletes to maintain their fitness because it's their job, right? They're dedicating the
right.
vast majority of their time to it. Most of us don't have that luxury or that ability. And I think so when somebody that's just a working person is able to do it, I think that's really worth highlighting.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I appreciate it, man, for sure.
So the other thing I want to bring up real quick, most people that are watching me and watch all of our shit know that I'm a part of ITR Boxing now. I'm sure you've caught on to that. I'm always talking about it on this show. But I think just real quick, kind of catch everybody up on what we're doing, some of the programming we're doing, and where people can find more of our programming outside of YouTube and, of course, our website.
Yeah, so even just going back to like last year, we linked up in New York real quick. We did the show, and I was like, yeah, I like this dude. And I was at the time where I was really looking to ramp up ITR again. Really get the wheels spinning and take over the summer basically. So I had a vision, and I was trying to recruit, and obviously you were a perfect fit after talking and listening to your show. So slowly but surely we started growing more. Now we're at a point where, of course, there's the YouTube, which everybody knows every week, the boxing shop. We also have the live stream on Friday night, the expert hour, which when we need to fill in, we jump in on there. The website, and then I'll make another announcement in this shortly too. But the OnlyFans page, which is another big deal that came about. OnlyFans is taking over boxing pretty much with a lot of big signees, a lot of fighters. Andy Reese, Anissa Estrada, Michaela Mayer. I mean, Edgar Berlanga. List goes on and on. There's so many of them, and they saw value in ITR, and ITR is on board with the OnlyFans page. So, if you guys are watching, make sure you subscribe. It's free. It's completely free to you, and we're bringing a lot of banging content. You'll be able to watch our live streams on there too, and a lot of our documentaries that we're putting together. I got to watch the early version of the one that you did with Shadeja Green. Fire. Pure fire. I love
Yeah,
it.
so I think that's a cool thing to announce too, is that I'm finally going to be contributing my first episode of the Fight Life, which is a series we've been doing, kind of highlighting individual fighters on the grind that that we see as very special and talented, but maybe aren't getting the level of praise that they deserve yet. And I was fortunate enough to spend some time with Shadeja Green, and that episode will be coming out very soon. So stay tuned to the ITR page, my Slip and Weave page, my personal page. It will be announced at all of those places. I think the other thing worth bringing up is OnlyFans TV, which I think is a really cool platform. And you can download it on your Roku, on your Fire Stick, wherever, where we have some of our more long form content on there. But yeah, just talk briefly about how people can access that.
Yeah, OnlyFans TV, and I think it's awesome. You have to be an official partnered creator to be on there. But we have obviously our channel on there. You can watch our videos on there. We have, I believe, 6 or 7 15 to 20-minute documentaries. The one that you're working on is a little longer. The one that I'm working on are going to be a little longer as well too. I'm looking for longer videos now too. But not only that, like OnlyFans TV, it's really growing. I was just watching a stand-up comedian episode on. I put a clip on my Instagram. I mean, the chick was funny too. I mean, OnlyFans TV it's not just adult content OnlyFans. So when you go to OFTV, if you're on your computer, you can go to OF.TV or download it on your smart device. OnlyFans TV, OFTV is what it's called. And there's everything from like, I think I saw a trailer for Model Horseback or Model Farmers. It's like a reality show they're doing. They have race car stuff, comedy shows, cooking shows, and I'm not gonna lie, I love cooking. And there's a show on there. I forgot what the name of the show is off the top of my head, but it's a cooking challenge show but it's only, there's not chefs or anything. It's other OnlyFans creators on there. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to get a part of that. The winning prize is like $20,000. Like, let me get on that.
And
I'm
you know
definitely.
and I think what's cool about it is it almost functions like a Hulu, but it's more focused on independent creators,
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. And the team behind it, they're really into pushing us to as creators to put out the best content and original stuff. And I like what they're doing. Definitely, it's a great platform, and again, it's free, completely free. You don't even have to sign up with an email address or anything like that. Like, it is free, and it's entertaining. There's something on there for everybody, for sure.
All right, let's get into the big one here. I obviously didn't get to watch it live, but I was able to watch it recently. Give me your initial take on Tank Davis stopping Ryan Garcia with a body shot in round 7.
I mean, I expected Tank to stop Ryan. I thought maybe it'd be a little bit of a different tone. I thought Ryan would probably pick up a lot more rounds than he did. But either way, it's the end result that I expected. Not necessarily a body shot. I figured he'd stop him, with a headshot or knock him out. I didn't expect such a random knockdown early on. But Tank showed me something there too. His boxing skill, his ring IQ was above than what we initially thought, I think. And that second round, I was watching the fight, and I'm sitting there watching, thinking, yo, he's timing Ryan. He's setting him up. He's thinking in there.
Yep.
He's not like backing up. And sure enough, like moments later, he dropped him with that left hand, and it was just all Tank after that.
When you notice too, after the knockdown, he just kept touching him with that left hand. He wasn't even really
Yeah,
committing to it. He was just showing him like, "Yo, I'm right here."
right.
Like when if you let your guard down, trust me, I'm right here. I'm still touching you with it pretty much whenever I want to. And I think Ryan maybe even got too comfortable, exposing the body because he was worried because he's getting touched with the left hand up top every single time Tank throws it. Um, I'll be honest. I thought Ryan was going to be more active. And I think some of that is Tank. I think Tank's footwork is just so much better that Ryan could never get himself in position to throw what he likes to throw. But I do think some of it had to do with the knockdown, and him not wanting to expose himself. Even if he didn't win, didn't you expect him to be a little more active?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody in the elevator too, and I was like, honestly, I feel like Tank's gonna stop Ryan, but he might be behind on the cards at the time that he does it too. And I just felt that Ryan was going to do a whole lot better. And I even said if it goes to a decision, I expect there to be controversy. Either way, I expect people to say, no, Tank won, no, Ryan won. Like, I expected it to be
Right.
a lot.
I thought Ryan maybe won a round. I just
Yeah,
didn't.
first round for sure.
I thought he won the first, and I just don't know that he did enough in any other round after that. Um, again, a lot of the credit does have to go to Tank, but I think it would just kind of not expose, but it highlighted his lack of experience at this level because he doesn't really have any experience at this level.
Yeah,
I think that's a big point to make. Like when you look at the guys that Tank's fought, he doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume yet, but when you look at guys like Jose Pedraza and Leo Santa Cruz, Hector Garcia, there's high level guys on here that it feels like Ryan kind of skipped that step
yeah.
getting to this fight.
He bit off more than he could chew. And I was saying it too. Like, I think Ryan still has a great future, but he needs to fight guys at that level. I feel like he is at that level, but he needs to fight guys at that level now in order to remain competitive with those dudes. And that's the thing, Gervonta, Shakur, Haney, all these guys, they came up on the, at the right pace to, get to the elite level. Where, just like you said, Ryan just went from the, floor level to the top of the stairs and was like, I'm ready.
Right.
And
Ryan never took, like, I think a perfect example was when Ryan turned down or not turned down, whatever happened, but he didn't wind up fighting Jorge Linares. And in the context of that moment, Linares was still a very, very dangerous contender. I think that would have been the kind of fight that gave him, the experience to be more prepared for a fight at this level.
right. Even, top level sparring can only take you so far. Once you're in the ring, it's a whole different ball game. So I do think that he is going to, have a bright future still. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a great fighter, but he just needs to get in there and lace it up. I think maybe he wanted that superstar fight right away. And it actually says a lot to him, to think that if he's barely entering that early stages of fighting at the top level, he's this young and he's already a pay-per-view star basically. Because I don't see him backpedaling. I think he's going to be pay-per-view going forward. He's going to have a great career. I think it shows a lot to his heart. Dude's got balls for taking that. You know what I mean? Just want to point that that's major props to him. He didn't have to take that fight. I feel like he might have known in his head he was overmatched, but he wanted it and he went at it.
Yeah, and I think that for at least for me, that was never in question. Like, I've always felt like the kid's got balls. He wants the big fights. He's a big enough name and a talented enough kid that they're going to move him a certain kind of way. And he does have some defensive flaws, which I think are ultimately still the things that made him lose this fight. He's still, every time he jabs or throws a left hook, he drops his right hand down to his chest. That's why he got knocked down. You know what I'm saying? So that changes. So I think for him, it's like he's super talented, but there's some very basic things and some steps missed that I think they have the chance to kind of redo at 140. And I hope they do.
Yeah. And I think I'm always against like changing trainers after a loss just because you lost. But I don't feel like him and Joe Goosen are a good mix. I do feel like he needs to switch it up.
He needs a defensive coach. Joe Goose is a great offense coach, but he needs like more of a thinking man's coach, I think.
Without a doubt. And I think, hopefully there's somebody out there that I can throw out a bunch of names, but somebody's out there's got to be able to help him out for sure. I'm sure he'll find the right match.
Who, assuming he does move up to 140 next, what is the fight that you'd like to see him in? Because I've been putting some thought into that. Like, I don't think that it serves him to match him soft after this.
Not at all. I think he should get after Rolly Romero grabs that title. I think he should chase that right away. I think he should take a tune-up against somebody. I don't know who exactly, but he should. Maybe he should get that Marcito Gesta fight. They were supposed to bang it out earlier this year, but he didn't. Maybe he should get that fight, get in there, because Marcito has the momentum. Obviously, coming off that win. Some sort of tune-up and then go after Rolly Romero. I think people are going to say, you're going to get knocked out because Rolly's he's a big puncher, but I think that's a perfect fight for Ryan.
I think Ryan wins that fight. I think Ryan's just much more, aside from his handful of defensive flaws, I think he's just a much more sound fighter than Rolly.
Oh, easily. And if he knocks out Rolly, which I don't think he would, and does it quicker than Tank did, then he positions himself in line for a rematch.
And by the way, his power is going to get better at 140, I think. I think he's a 23-year-old guy. He's still cutting down to this weight that he's been going to for a while. And I think moving up, I do think it's going to help his overall performance. And I think a fight that I would like to see him in is somebody like Jose Pedraza. I think that's a great fight for him. It's not a tune-up. He could very well lose that fight because Pedraza has more experience in general at the top level, and is like a very smart, tricky guy. I think Jose Ramirez is a great fight for him. Like, I want to see him get in the mix. I don't need to see him fight Prograis right off rip. I don't think he deserves it. I don't think he deserves the winner of Taylor and Lopez right off rip. But I think somebody like a Pedraza, like a big fight with Jose Ramirez, I think those are the kinds of fights he should be putting himself in.
Hell, let him and George Kambosos go at it too.
That's a great fight. Arnold Barbosa. That's a tricky fight, but I think that him and Barbosa, that's one where they both really need it. They both need that marquee win right now.
Yeah, for sure. And then one thing that I wanted to touch on too, a lot of people were saying that he could have got up or it was rigged, and I'm not with that. Obviously, I'm not with the whole it's rigged thing, but him could I think he got up at the count of 10, exactly at the count of 10 deliberately. Like, the ref's either going to stop it or let him continue, and I think he was fine with either one. And I don't know, maybe the weight drain did cause something, to his body, his punch resistance. But I don't think he quit necessarily. I don't want to say that. And the kid's got heart, and I am looking forward to the rest of his career. I wasn't the biggest Ryan fan before this fight, but he showed me something, and I'm looking forward to it and seeing where his journey goes to for sure.
And I also think that Tank's power is like an Artur Beterbiev, Sergey Kovalev, Subriel Matias kind of power. where it's just if he lands the right shot, it's just it's game over. And I think that he caught Ryan with that shot, but it's tough for it's tougher for casual fans to understand like that a little body shot like that could end a fight. But those a lot of times are the shots that end a fight.
Big time, big time. Those body shots, and those are the ones that I mean, what's today? Wednesday.
There's no way he saw it coming. He didn't see the punch.
Oh yeah, he definitely didn't see it coming. There's a small chance that he's still feeling that body punch. And those ones linger with you for a while. The guy that David Morrell fought, he was probably okay later that night. Next morning, perfectly fine. But Ryan is. I mean, there's a small chance he's still feeling that.
When we'll get to David Morrell shortly. What I think the two obvious choices for Tank going forward, you know, I don't feel any need to dive deep into his legal situation. I know that there are potentially things that could keep him out of the ring to some extent. But I think the most obvious choices for him are obviously Shakur Stevenson or the winner of Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, which I think people have sort of written Lomachenko off a little bit. I'm not saying he's the favorite. I just see it as a genuine 50-50 fight. Which of those matchups are you more interested in? Because at the moment, I just think that any of those fights are fucking amazing.
I'm don't take nothing away from Haney. He's extremely talented, but he's too talented for his own good, I think. That I don't ever see him being in an exciting fight ever. So I don't want to see him against Tank because I feel like it's going to be a snooze fest. He's going to make Tank look bad, and it's going to be boring. And I can actually see Haney winning that fight. And for me, the fight is Shakur. Shakur wants the knockout. He wants to be a killer in there, and he goes for it. He doesn't have a lot of power, which makes his fights entertaining, and he's going to bang it out with Tank. He's not going to be afraid of him at all. And that's the fight for me that really needs to be made. With, you know, Top Rank there in the mix, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle. I think we see Shakur and Haney and the winner of that fighting Tank, because if Top Rank's going to make that investment in, you know, their company and their brand against another rival, they want to make sure that their top guy is going to bring it home. So I think they're going to stay in-house, have Shakur and Haney fight first. If Haney gets by Loma, the winner of that versus Shakur will fight Tank eventually, I think is what's going to happen. And as a fan, I want to see Shakur and Tank. That's the fight for me. And it's trumped Spence and Crawford for me. Like, to me, that's an afterthought. If it happens, it's still exciting.
And if I didn't see the live pay-per-view, but was there any announcement of that fight?
Nope, nothing. So that was all, you know, rumor.
What a fucking disgrace, bro.
For real. Somebody I saw online, Tank's fought 3 times in 11 months, and over the 11 months, Spence and Crawford together have only fought 3 times. It's a disgrace for sure.
We're all moving on. If it gets announced, I'm excited and I'll watch it, but we're all moving on. Tank and Shakur is an incredible fight, and I think part of why it's so good is because Shakur is going to give Tank that educated pressure with that good defense. You know, there's only a handful of guys that can be as aggressive as Shakur and still be tough to hit. Like Loma kind of mastered that to some extent. Bivol, but you know, I think Shakur is going to give him that educated pressure, and I don't think he's a feather fist. I just think that his style is transitioning. He's not a power puncher by any means, but he's got that sting where you don't see, it's like Floyd, like you don't see guys marching Shakur down, and if they are, it's not working because they can't hit him. So that's the super fight to me. I think it will take though Shakur getting a top win at lightweight to make that fight happen. Like because Shakur doesn't bring anything to the table as a 135 pounder. I mean, I think he just, aside from being a great fighter, so we'll have to fight an Isak Cruz or a Frank Martin or somebody else that's in the mix, I think, in order to get that fight.
I agree. And I mean, you mentioned Isak Cruz. Hell, I would like to see him and Ryan go at it too. That would be fucking fun ass fight.
I just think Ryan's going to 140. I just don't see him ever making lightweight again.
But I'm sure for that fight, Isak would move up, make that fight happen. But we're past Ryan. Tank and Shakur, that's the fight for me. As a fan, that's the fight that we should all be clamoring for sure. Hopefully we get that in like September.
It'd be incredible, bro. I think moving on to David Morrell, versus stopping Yamaguchi Falcao in the first round. I mean, fuck, man, is David Morrell the best super middleweight going right now?
Easily, easily, bro. He again, that was a late replacement, but he went out there and did what you're supposed to do, and then some. Like, you know what I mean? Like he went out there, he got that knockout quickly. Um, he gave the fans exactly what they wanted. He went in there immediately. He was already looking at the ref, like, "Are you gonna stop it and step in?" Like he knew. And you can see, from his last fight, there's some of that. I don't want to hurt this guy more than I need to. And, the ref didn't save him, so he went in there and finished it quickly. He made a statement. He was on the biggest stage that he could be right now. And he made a statement in front of a ton of fans. So, and of course, immediately calling out David Benavidez. And honestly, I'm going to pick Morrell over David Benavidez. I would like to see Morrell maybe get into a Caleb Plant if Benavidez don't take that fight right away and handle that. But I'm picking Morrell over Benavidez, Plant, and Canelo right now at this point.
I still think with Morrell, there's we have to see him at a certain level before he gets anointed. But just off the eye test, I mean, this kid is fucking dynamite, bro. And I'm telling you, man, I did commentary for Yamaguchi Falcao's fight with Damian Farias. He's a really good fighter, dude. He's really smart. He's not easy to hit. He's very fluid with his combinations. Like Yamaguchi is a very good fighter and has kind of been on the verge of cracking the top 15 for a long time, bro. Olympic bronze medalist. This kid's not a joke. And I think Morrell made that fight look easier than just about anybody else could. Like I don't when I've seen Yamaguchi, I don't see that as like, oh, the top guys will knock him out in the first round. Like I saw him as a lose a decision to Caleb Plant kind of guy.
And I remember you were saying that too, that don't be surprised if he sneaks in there and wins a couple rounds and makes it tight for Morrell. I remember that was like something you had said leading up to when they announced that he was stepping in. Because
I definitely favored Morrell, but I thought Yamaguchi's definitely the best fighter that Morrell's been in with, at least as a pro. And fighting a guy like Yamaguchi is going to tell you a little bit about where Morrell is at. And the fact that he destroyed that guy so easily in the first round, a guy that's never been stopped or hurt, really, like, that's impressive, bro.
Yeah, easily. I'm huge on David Morrell right now. He's one of my top, like Stephen Fulton Jr. and David Morrell, two of my top fighters right now for sure.
Morrell's in that similar kind of position that like Jared Anderson's in, where he's like, it's very obvious that he's one of the guys, but he's like a young guy that hasn't had that many fights. And so it's like, where do you go with him at this point? Yeah,
I'm with that too. I mean, Anderson's moment is right around the corner, I'm sure, but Morrell is right there too. Hopefully we see another super fight with him. I mean, I would like to see another doubleheader. I mean, maybe we get David Morrell and Caleb Plant on the undercard for Tank and Shakur. Like that would be a hell of a show right there. That's worth the money in the pay-per-view.
And there's a couple of like not as big names. I'm looking at the rings. Like Christian and Billy is a very good fighter. Just came off a win over Carlos Gongora, who's a former champion. Gongora is a tough guy that I would love to see Morrell in with. There's like a decent Ali Akhmedov got the win over Rosado. There's like guys for him to fight at 168 that I think would be challenges for him. And I think that, and maybe even Beck the Bully, even though not a great performance, but someone at that level.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think that, I mean, he doesn't even have 10 fights yet, but we're putting him in that category to see him at the top level, where like guys like Edgar Berlanga, we're like, we're ready to cash you out.
Well, and I'm telling you, bro, I would favor Falcao against Berlanga.
Oh yeah.
Like I would favor Yamaguchi against Berlanga. I just think he would outbox him. And at this point, the way Morrell did him like that, it's just like, of course we're ready to see him.
Without a doubt. I mean, hell, give us Berlanga and Morrell. That would be fun. It'll definitely get Berlanga out the picture.
Yeah, I think another interesting guy is Vladimir Shishkin. Got a win over Uskadagi a couple of months back. It wasn't like a vicious performance, but he's a very smart boxer that's got a little pop. You know, I think that there's interesting opponents for Morrell. I think he'll have to get through some of those guys before he gets to the Canelos and the Benavidez's and whoever else it is that he's interested in fighting. But I look forward to seeing him take those challenges, and I think he beats any of them.
Yeah, I'm with that. David Morrell is going to be a star for sure, and he's working on his English too. So I mean, that's only going to help. When Canelo started learning English and getting better at that, that only helped him too. So he's going to be a star without a doubt.
Last thing I'll bring up about Morrell, but I think it's real interesting how this new crop of Cuban boxers like him and Robesi are like really exciting. You know, I find Cuban boxing exciting because I geek out for the skill. Like it's hard to do what Guillermo Rigondeaux does. It's hard to do what Erislandy Lara does. But these guys are really bringing entertainment as far as action, you know?
Right, and they're in there banging, they're getting their knockouts. You know, it's true. The Cuban style has always been smooth boxer, counter puncher, not very exciting when it comes to knockouts. But these dudes are out there; they're putting in work, and they're exciting to fans, just like you said.
How did you feel about Beck's performance in the rematch over Rosado? I thought it was very hesitant for like 3 rounds, and then he won basically every round after that. But it definitely looked like there was some mental blockage as far as like, this guy knocked me the fuck out, and I need to be very careful.
Oh yeah, it was 100% that he did not want to get touched again. Horrible performance from both of them. I don't ever care to see either one. Well, Gabe's already retired, and we knew what to expect from Gabe, but I don't ever want to see Beck again after that. Like, honestly, like that kind of performance turns you away. You know, he could change our minds, of course, in his next fight, but he fought very fearful, without a doubt. Definitely not the fan-making performance that he would have wanted.
And I think it was particularly noticeable because his style is generally just so aggressive. He's a very aggressive guy that throws a lot of shots. He puts a lot of foot pressure on, and then he's fighting this guy who is very faded and has faded significantly since the first fight, but he's approaching it with he's so careful that I think it does kind of put you off. Like, well, bro, how are you not seeing how vulnerable Rosado is? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And particularly when you put that next to Morrell walking through Falcao.
Yeah, for sure. And Beck did knock down Gabe in their first fight, right? Like in the first round or so.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, he could have hurt him, but he was afraid of getting caught. And then to Gabe's credit, he didn't have much left in the tank, but he was throwing that punch every single time he could. He was throwing that same shot, trying to land it.
And look, and you know, he's a vet, bro. He's still, and you know, he could keep going and be slippery and lose decisions, and you know, he could keep doing that if he wants to. I just don't. I'm glad that he's retiring. I think he's had a tremendous career with like the cards he's been dealt. There's been some bad decisions in fights he should have won on multiple occasions. He's never been afraid to fight anybody. I think he's had a fantastic career.
Yeah, I agree. Much respect to Gabe. I don't know when the next, because you know we get a lot of those guys, you know, losing records, but they fight anybody. They don't care. They're unheralded. You know what I mean? They go in there, they fight. That's what they're there for. They're fighters. Who knows when we're gonna get another Gabe Rosado? He fought anybody. You know, major props to him. Great career for sure.
And not for nothing, wins over Josh Clottey, Glenn Tapia. Definitely beat Danny Jacobs and got the shit end of a decision. You know, probably beat Jay Leon Love. There was multiple instances where, you know, it should have gone his way. I thought he was beating Peter Quillen when they stopped the fight. So, you know, a couple things go different, and Gabe's record looks a little different, you know. But
you mentioned, you know, Peter Quillen, like he one loss and he was never the same. Gabe has like 15, 16 losses, and he was always the same. You know what I mean? He was the same fighter at 8 losses as he was when he was undefeated. He didn't let that stop him, and that says something too to his mental strength.
And think about, I don't know if you remember that fight, but when you think about the context of the time when he fought Alfredo Angulo, and Angulo just walked, right? Because at that time, Angulo was like a true killer. You know what I'm saying? A true killer. And he walked through Gabe. And that was the kind of fight, especially for a young guy at the time, where it's like, you might not be the same after that. And he only got better.
Yep. And then taking on Golovkin when he didn't have to at all. He did not have to take that fight. And he did. he got demolished, and even then he was still, he would take some layoffs here and there, but he's still, he never really fully took a step back.
Yeah, I just let it, shout out to Gabe Rosado. I've been to multiple of his fights. He's brought the fans a lot of excitement over the years, and I'm glad that he's wrapping it up now. I wish he had wrapped it up after the Munguia fight, but I don't think he stayed around so long to like embarrass himself.
Yeah, for sure.
The other, of course, our guy Elijah Garcia. I thought that the fight with Kevin Salgado was a great fight. I thought that was a really good opponent. I'm glad that he is being challenged. I thought that the fact that he responded so well in the fourth said a lot about him. I know people after that last fight are going to go, oh, but I think it's a great fight for him.
Yeah, I agree. And he intentionally, I was with him the entire weekend. So we're in the hotel room, before the fight, the day of the fight, and he's going over the game plan, and it was an intentionally slow start. Like he knew that he was going to see what Kevin was trying to bring. But even then, he was saying after the fight, he was letting me know that Kevin was a tough ass dude and better than he expected. And I think everybody watching was surprised at what Kevin brought. He fought the fight of his life, but again. That kind of fight right there for Elijah is exactly what he needed. He didn't need to run through Kevin and get a quick knockout again. He needed those rounds, and he had to dig deep and, learn about himself too. And that was a great fight. That was a great win for him, and he definitely needed that. That was a good test. I'm glad he had that opponent in front of him at that night.
I thought the thing that I noticed was Salgado came out, man. He was sharp. He was letting his hands go. He's throwing beautiful combinations, but it looked like he was really working for it. And Elijah was just sort of getting his look and trying to catch his rhythm, but he hadn't even really like turned the car on. And in that, I think it was like in the fourth round, roughly, once he started turning it up, it was just obvious that physically he was just much more gifted and wound up taking over down the stretch. But Salgado came out, man, and he clearly wanted to fight. I think Elijah, man, I'm really excited about this group of young middleweights we got going with him, with Troy Isley, with Janabek. I think there's a nice little crop of young guys at this weight right now, and it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been, because the middleweight division historically has always been a hot division with top fighters. Like it's been great, historically. Lately, it hasn't been. But we're right there now. We have a lot of guys it's going to be good competitive ass fights.
And I feel like it's mostly been not good. It's been a bad division, not because there's not talented fighters. We've had Golovkin, Jamal Charlo, Boo Boo, a lot of different guys that have been at the top of middleweight in the last couple of years. The problem is none of them ever fought each other. None of them outside of Canelo and Triple G ever fought each other. And so it's just been this division that's waiting for something significant to happen. I don't know if that's because of like the Canelo sweepstakes or whatever, but the generation prior to the guys that we listed just never fought each other. And I think that it really has harmed boxing.
Yeah, it has. It definitely has. There's always like one super fight. We had Hopkins and Taylor, and then Taylor and Pavlik. And then just kind of like the title just kind of floated around a little bit until the Sergio Martinez era. He took over, and then Miguel Cotto took it from him, then Canelo, and then we went into the Canelo Triple G era. And there's always just like one or two guys, but the other top contenders, again, they weren't fighting each other. They'd either move up or even move down. But middleweight is real hot right now, and even with Elijah, he doesn't plan on leaving the division anytime soon. And I know a lot of these other guys, Troy Isley and these other cats, they're not leaving the middleweight division. Like that's their home right now for a while. So I'm excited for the middleweight future too. Hopefully we get a nice undisputed showdown eventually at some point with whoever gets up there to that throne.
And shit, Jaime Munguia is still young enough where he could slip right in with this new crop of guys and just be like the couple years older guy with more experience. And I'd still want to see him. I still want to see him against Janabek. I still want to see him in meaningful matchups, and he's a young enough guy that he could get in that mix if him and his team want to do it.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So the last one I want to talk about, Joe Cordina getting a fucking brutal decision over Shavkat Rakhimov. Unbelievable fight. Really slept on because of the night that it was. It was on the same day as this card that we've been talking about. But how did you feel about this one? And I guess the other thing I'll ask is, is Cordina kind of making a case for being the top guy at 130 right now?
Bro, that was a hell of a fight. And it was giving me flashbacks of the two guys from last year. I can't even think of their names right now.
Well, it was kind of like Neri and Hovhanessian.
I was thinking the fight of the year that I said was last year. The two Brits, Michael Conlon and Lee Wood. Yeah. It reminded me of that fight a lot, especially because Cordina was just killing him early on, and then here we go in the middle of the rounds. Rakhimov, he took over the middle rounds, and he was hurting Cordina too. And there was a point in time, I forgot what round it was, the 6th or 7th or so, where he had him rocked, definitely. And then Cordina just dug deep, and man, those hooks that he was landing were just brutal. That was a hell of a fight, and yeah, he's definitely making a statement at 130. I'm tuned into either one of these guys next time they fight again, because that was a banger ass fight. I didn't catch it live. I didn't even know about it till you told me about it, and I did see Jack talking about it in the chat too. But man, that was a hell of a fight. I'm gonna make sure everybody else watches that one too. I'm gonna be an advocate for that one, because that was a brawl, bro. I'm
almost kind of shifted my thinking to like, this is fight of the month, because for me, the Garcia's lack of output made that fight as a whole like a little bit disappointing. Whereas these two guys, legit top 5 guys in their division, that fucking delivered an absolute banger. And if it had not been on the same day as this card, I think more fans would be talking about this fight.
Without it, and on the same platform too, which is strange. But man, that was a hell of a fight. And I'm trying to think, year wise, it's up there for me. I don't know who the fight of the year so far is, because there's been some good ones this year, and all on DAZN.
I don't know that it's fight of the year, but it's you could make a case for being fight of the month.
Yeah, it was a hell of a fight, man. If you're listening, definitely go back and watch that. Sleeper fight of the year, without a doubt. But that was a great fight, man. Cordina, I'm looking forward to seeing what he has next. The dude has a lot of skills. He's very sharp.
Very sharp.
Quick power. And, he got tagged a couple times, but he's pretty sound defensively, too. And he's got good feet in there. I like him.
He reminds me of Carl Frampton. Like when Frampton was really at the peak of his abilities in the Santa Cruz fights. Like he might even be a little better.
Yeah, actually, that's a good comparison for sure. Right, yeah, during those Santa Cruz fights for sure. I like that comparison. And he might actually be a little better. He's definitely a little faster, and he's a little smoother on his feet too. So I like it, man. I'm tuning into him, whenever he fights next again.
And just to give him credit for what he's doing, I mean, beating Rakhimov, who at the time undefeated, 17-0-1, the one being the draw with Jojo Diaz, beating some high-level guys. Rakhimov, a legitimate contender who I think could beat anybody at this weight on any given night. And prior to that, stopping Kenichi Ogawa in the 2nd round. We had it as a knockout of the year honorable mention. I know that this division's a little in flux right now because Shakur was the obvious top guy. So now we're sort of looking for who that top guy is. And it's either Oshaki Foster, Navarrete, Valdez, or Cordina. And I think we're going to have to see these 4 guys fight each other to really figure out who the top guy is. But I think Cordina's right in it.
Oh, yeah. He's in the mix for sure. Without a doubt. He is in the mix.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much all the fights from last weekend. Is there anything you're working on, anything that's coming out soon that you want to plug, or that you want to, or anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, of course, shout out the entire ITR team, from you, Jack, Lukey, Nibs, Ray, everybody. We all contribute in one way or another, and that's what keeps the brand growing and moving. I'm gonna shout out PBC and everybody involved with the weigh-in for this in a wrong way. Like I'm gonna throw them under the bus, because why the hell would you host a weigh-in in Las Vegas outdoors when it's hot? Bro, it was the worst weigh-in I've ever been to in my life. It was horrible. It was a large crop of us that moved from center stage perfect view. I could have got some of the best pictures that night, but the heat and the sun that was beaming down on me.
That's fucking
like,
brutal.
No, I'm not sitting. No, I'm not doing this. I left to go buy a hat because I was like, I went and bought this Davis Garcia hat right here because I needed protection from the sun. That was just gonna bake on my head the entire time. It was bad. A lot of us just moved to the side. I couldn't even see Ryan and Tank weigh in or any of them weigh in. I didn't get any pictures or footage of it because I just wanted to stay safe from the sun. So like
not melt your camera too. Shit.
Yeah, for real. Like it was horrible. It was like 86 degrees, I think. Just hot. It was the worst weigh-in I've ever been to.
Trash.
Unshout out to everybody involved in putting that together.
Shout down.
Yeah.
Shout down to them.
But right now I'm working on episodes of The Fight Life with Elijah Garcia, of course. I already have a couple days in with him. Actually, a few days in. I could probably drop an episode right away, but we're going to do another session. And then I have another episode of The Fight Life I'm working on with undefeated women's boxer Brianna Sanchez. She's 2-0-1 with 2 knockouts. She's a great girl, good, fun, exciting fighter. She's dealing with a knee injury, torn MCL. So she's recovering from that. It's a slow recovery, but that's
it is a slow recovery. I had that, and I had the surgery for that, and it does take a bit.
Yeah, she's been pretty frustrated. I was just talking to her last night. It's been frustrating because as a fighter, you want to get back in there and train full intensity, but she's not been able to yet. So it's holding her back. And I know she's itching to get in the ring, especially with how hot women's boxing is right now. She's really itching to get in there. She's right there in the mix. She's 106 pounds. So she's right there in the mix. But those are the 2 episodes I'm working on. I have a few more in the works, but one project at a time. I don't want to get overwhelmed. But those are the ones we got going on, and then whatever else everybody else has going on with ITR. It's a team. You know what I mean? So we're looking forward to it. I know I forgot the fighter's name that Jack has coming on, but he has another good one coming.
And but to anyone watching, if you want to find more of the ITR links, I'm going to leave everything in the description. Our OnlyFans, some of the links to the OFTV stuff, our website, our YouTube. I'm going to leave it all down below so that none of it's a mystery. You don't have to go looking for anything yourself. It's all right there. The last topic that I want to bring up, and this one's for me, and I'm just going to go on a little rant real quick. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yes, exactly. And I'm gonna segue off that when you're done.
So we saw the tweet from Virgil Ortiz that the DAZN pay-per-view link was not working. I had that experience. I'll tell you what happened right now. I'm out of town working as part of the production crew for Coachella Music Festival. My mom wanted to buy the link, and I didn't find it necessary that she get a new DAZN account. I already have one. Go ahead and use mine, and you can get the pay-per-view for a discount. So she buys the pay-per-view, and the link is not working. She's clicking it over and over again, and it says you've already purchased, and then it takes her back to the homepage of the DAZN app. I go on my phone to see if I can play the thing that we've purchased, and it takes me to the same page and tells me buy now. So I'm assuming, well, I've already bought it on this account. If I hit buy now, it's just going to play the thing I've already paid and charge me again. So now I've bought this fight twice on 2 different fucking devices, and I can't watch it on any of them, right? The link is just not working. Every time you click in on any device, it says you've already purchased this and exits you out to the homepage. So for a company that's upping its prices, that costs $25 a month now, that started as a $10 a month company, I think they should be fucking embarrassed. And I got an email from them saying we apologize. A lot of our subscribers have had this problem and da-da-da-da. And I just don't think that's fucking good enough. And I ultimately wound up getting my money back, not because they did the right thing or helped me, but because I called my bank and had them reject the charges. And I just think that a company of this magnitude, not really caring that, like, listen, a lot of their fan base are working class people like us, where if you charge me $135 for something I can't use, like, yeah, it's kind of fucking my shit up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there, man. I think them as a company should really be ashamed of themselves. And I think that on some level, even if it's an accident, they've committed a fraud.
And honestly, and that's why I said I wanted to segue off of that, because early pay-per-view numbers are coming out, and I mean, obviously not you, not just Virgil Ortiz, but I've seen numerous people saying that they had multiple charges, multiple fees. I saw one guy who he posted 6 different charges for $100 on there. He didn't have the subscription, so he was paying the full price. Now, the reason I bring that up is because they're talking about these huge pay-per-view numbers, talking about 1.2 million buys. That's huge. That is huge to,
That's a top 5 pay-per-view, top 10 pay-per-view ever.
Easily. But when you think about it, are they calculating all of these additional purchases that people are making because of their faulty system and application? When you think about that, it's very shady. And, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but was that part of the plan? You know what I mean? Who knows? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, the reporting is still going to show that these numbers of
I tend to think that it's not part of the plan, but they're not bummed out about it, right? If they can, they're not bummed out to report these numbers that maybe aren't accurate because they're double, triple, in some cases 6 times charging somebody for something that they may not have been able to use, right?
Exactly. And the thing is I used to work for a cable company. People would call in for whatever reason and say, the fight wasn't working. There was a storm. I couldn't watch it. I had already purchased it, or for whatever reason, right? And, they'd get credited. But at the end of the day, they still bought the pay-per-view. So I think when we look at this fight, there's always going to be an asterisk. And I'm curious to know, what the real number is going to be. And we'll probably never know. But, whether a fight gets refunded or not, there's going to show that all of these pay-per-views were purchased and it really wasn't. So...
And by the way, those people that bought that pay-per-view could call you at the cable company and get some assistance with it. DAZN does not have that infrastructure set up. So they have all these people sending them money, but no one they can talk to if something goes wrong. I sent them an email and didn't get an answer for them for 3 days. And the fact that, they're happy to take your money, but if you're not getting what you pay for, they're going to take their dear, sweet fucking time getting you any help with it, I think is borderline criminal.
It is. You should have, especially on a night like that, your customer service should be on fucking point for, barring any issues that go on, whether it's boxing or any event. If there's a big event going on, you need to have customer service team, prepared, and a tech support team prepared.
It's really typical of them as a company, right? Like we talk about it on our shows all the time. The production on almost any DAZN program is very bad. They have audio issues. They have video issues. They have all kinds of technical and production issues on almost all of their shows, and their pricing goes up. And if anything, the pricing shouldn't be going up. Your desire to expand the company should go up, or your attempt to expand your subscriber base. That's what should go up, not the prices on the people that have been keeping this thing afloat. And it just feels like once you do something like this, and a lot of people are having that experience, you lose trustworthiness with the fans. I would never buy another pay-per-view on that platform. I'll tell you that right now. I wouldn't. I don't trust it as a platform, and I don't trust them that they care if it works.
Right. I agree. And rightfully so. And I think a lot of people are probably going to feel the same way.
So, and I think it was important to talk about that because we're, I'm definitely a show for the fans, for the hardcore fans that love the sport. I know our viewers are that way as well. And I know for a fact I'm not the only one that had that experience. So I think it's worth platforming that and just saying, like, listen, man, like them as a company, they really have to change it up, or I just don't feel like they'll be around much longer.
Right. It's true. I agree 200% with you on all of that, for sure. It's frustrating for anybody to have to go through especially when you're paying. If it's the regular stream, shit happens. Even then, fix it. But for a pay-per-view, is inexcusable.
Especially in the era of piracy, I'm paying because I want to support the event. I think they need to remember that none of us have to pay, right?
Exactly.
None of us that have been around for the internet have to pay for any of this shit. And I choose to because I love the sport and I want to support it.
Right. Well said, my brother. Well said.
Well, this has been a fantastic episode, Felix. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. And hopefully we'll do it in roughly a year and we'll be a couple of skinny mini boys.
Yes, sir. Definitely. And we'll see. We'll do a thick boy episode this December, Heisman weekend. and we'll chow down on some fucking pizza and hot dogs and pretzels and whatever else we can find out there.
All right, brother, man. Hell yeah, dude. We'll talk soon. All right. Peace.
All right. Peace.